Good morning and welcome to Rich's World. I'm Rich, and it's the beginning of March, and this is the perfect time to put your gentle fertilizers down. Now, I put down 10-10-10, and I put triple phosphate down. The 10-10-10 is a fertilizer, so is the triple phosphate. But what the phosphate does is it helps your blooming plants. It also encourages deep root growth. They've gotten very expensive. They're 4 times more than what they were 10 years ago. I bought them at an agricultural farm. I live out in ag, so I go where all the farmers go, and that's the best place to get a good price. Now, what you're going to need are gloves. And I like these gloves because they have the rubber bottoms. But you can even use the rubber gloves for kitchen work or whatever. Now, what you got to do is get the fertilizer into a bucket. I use an old bucket, a paint bucket. It's great. These are 50-pound bags and they're pretty heavy. So what I do is put half of it in the bucket. So here we go. And here you can see the fertilizer. I bought 15 bags each. So that's quite a bit. So what I do is I break it up over 3 days. What we're going to do. Gardening can be physically hazardous. It really can. I've had 2 hernia surgeries, and I know it's from all the digging and climbing and lifting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do what we pick an area and stick to that area until it's finished, and then move on to another section of garden. That's the easiest way so you don't forget what you're doing. And I just take handfuls. Okay, now if you notice, I just throw it on the bush. It'll work its way down. It's going to rain this week, and it's not going to hurt the plant. It's just a gentle fertilizer to give them what they need when they need it in the beginning of early spring. This bag must have been wet in the warehouse. So you have to kind of break it up with your hand. Now, like I said, this is a lot to do, 30 bags at 50-pound bags. So I spread it out over 3 days. If the weather's going to be nice, you can spread it out over 4 days. But once that's out of the way, then you can move to spraying your fruit trees, which we'll do an episode on next. Now, the next bag was the triple phosphate. I'll spare you because it looks the same as what I just did. That's what I'll do now. I'll cut that bag open and I'll go around over everything I just did with a triple phosphate. Now, I'm going to go get a bag out of the barn of Hollytone, which is probably the best fertilizer you can give your azaleas, your hollies, all your acid-loving things, your rhododendron. And I'm going to do the hollies in that section. So hang on, I'll go get the bag. My wife bought this Cushman cart a couple years ago, and I thought, really? We really need that? Because I have a tractor. I love it. It's worth every penny. I use it more than she does. Go figure. I love this thing. Okay, Hollytone. Best fertilizer on the market for hollies. It's a little pricey, but you get what you pay for, as I've learned in the past. So what we're going to do, now I feed my hollies almost every month. I put this down now, and then each month I'll just give a Miracle Grow. So a cup for a good size shrub is not bad. I just want to make sure I'm reaching in. I want to make sure that it's getting around the roots. You know, this is a good sized tree. I'm going to do 2 of these. Now for small ones, you don't need as much. Maybe half of this. Now this holly needs to be trimmed. And that's a great thing in the spring because trimming stimulates growth. So I'll come in and trim it a little, shape it up, trying to get it larger. Well, spring is a good time to walk around the garden and see what's happening. And one of the things that's happening is our tulips are starting to come up. Remember, we planted this in the fall, one of the fall shows, and I showed you how to dig a hole instead of doing it one by one. Well, they're all emerging, and that makes me feel good. I think, wow, that's great. So the tulips are going to come up. And I noticed my daffodils, it's only the 2nd of March. And I have daffodils that are coming up, which means it's probably going to snow. Let's go see what else is happening around here. These are daffodils. I planted these, it's got to be 12 years ago plus. They come up every year. I keep thinking to myself, why don't I plant more daffodils? So this fall, I think I'm going to. I've always liked daffodils, and they have many different kinds now. My daughter is crazy about daffodils. It's one of her favorite flowers, and which has kind of gotten me more interested in them. So they're the harbinger of spring, I think. Tulips and daffodils and the flowers on the trees. Boy, when I go, I'm going to the spring section of heaven for sure. I am crazy about spring. Earlier, we were throwing fertilizers around. Don't worry about the leaves. It's too early to rake them. That fertilizer will go down through them. So just that first week in March, you know, unless there's snow on the ground, you want to get your 10-10-10 in and your triple phosphate. But definitely, if you're only going to do one, do the 10-10-10. Well, friends and family, thanks for tuning in. It's been fun. It's good to get out in spring, even though it's windy and cold. It's good for you and it's good for the garden. Hope to see you next week when we spray the fruit trees if it's not windy. And March can be very windy. March can also have a couple of really warm days. Good time to weed before they spread. So until I see you again, be blessed and have a great day.